Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we slice through mountains of raw information to give you the clear, surprising summit view.
Today, we're jumping into a topic that most homeowners share,
Yeah,
but let's be honest, almost universally choose to ignore.
the septic system. And we're working with a really unique set of sources here.
Yeah, these aren't academic papers or anything like that.
No, this is 6 months of interviews, raw stories, and even detailed maintenance logs from real homeowners across the U.S.
People who decided to finally switch from, let's call it disaster management, over to proactive prevention.
And that's our mission today, isn't it?
It is. For you, the listener, we wanted to find the measurable difference between that reactive maintenance, the panic when the toilet overflows,
Right.
versus putting in place a consistent proactive strategy. We're going to dig into the real pain points and, I think more importantly, the unexpected victories they found.
Okay, let's just dive right in, because the starting point we found is almost universally grim.
It really is.
When we looked at all those initial interviews, the problem could basically be boiled down to one phrase. We waited too long.
It's that classic out of sight, out of mind problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
Before they started a real routine, the pattern was just so predictable and expensive.
They were just ignoring all the little signs.
All of them. The brief odors after a shower, the gurgling sound in the sink, a drain that's just a little slower than it used to be.
And you just rationalize it away. You tell yourself, oh, it's just the rain, or the tank is old.
Or that major problems, they only happen to other people.
Yeah, there's this really dangerous belief that your system is either perfect or it's a complete catastrophe. There's no in between.
Precisely. They thought these issues were for, ancient failing systems, not their own. And that inaction lets minor problems like solids building up just get worse and worse, completely unnoticed.
So if you look for the moment they finally decided to act, to find a proactive solution, it was always, and I mean always, triggered by a disaster.
Or at least a very expensive scare.
Exactly. We have a quote from Linda in North Carolina that just captures this perfectly. She said, "We had a weekend where the bathrooms backed up. That was the wake-up call."
And that moment, the literal unsanitary backup, is the ultimate pain point. It forces you to act now.
And when you're in that emergency mode, you're not thinking about cost, you're just thinking about speed.
Every single time, which is exactly why getting ahead of it, being preemptive, is so critical. You just bypass that high-stress, high-cost moment entirely.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The data shows that when they did switch to proactive care, the results were almost immediate.
Palpable even, often within just 2 to 4 weeks.
We're talking noticeably fewer odors, drains running fast again, and those weird bubbling sounds they just accepted as normal, gone.
And that speed, it just confirms the fundamental point we're trying to make here for you.
Which is?
Consistent maintenance is so much cheaper, faster, and just less of a headache than emergency repair.
But the most surprising thing we found wasn't just how fast it worked, it was why it worked.
Right, the science behind it. A mechanism that, honestly, a lot of homeowners were deeply skeptical of at first.
The oxygen release action, this is the key difference in the data.
Yeah, because many of these users had already tried other things, the usual liquid or powder treatments.
And they just figured they were all basically the same, some kind of enzyme mix that never quite got rid of the smell.
Exactly. And to get why this works so fast, we have to do just a quick little science deep dive.
Okay.
So a traditional septic tank relies on bacteria in what's called an anaerobic environment. That means without free oxygen.
And that process is slow.
Very slow. And critically, the byproducts of that slow decomposition are what cause the horrible smells. Sulfur compounds, methane.
So the system works, but it's inefficient and smelly.
Right. But when you introduce a consistent source of oxygen plus specialized bacteria, that's the oxygen release part, you start shifting the tank to a more aerobic state.
And aerobic is better.
Vastly better. Aerobic bacteria are way more efficient. They break down solids so much faster, and their byproducts are generally odorless.
Which explains why the smells disappeared so quickly.
It's the first thing people notice. That's what explains that feedback from the Martinez family in Texas. They said, the smell, gone by the 3rd day. That was not what we expected.
They weren't just covering up the smell.
No, they were getting rid of the source of the gas production itself. It's like proof of concept, but for your nose.
Which then leads to the physical evidence.
It does. We heard from Steve in Michigan, who pretty bravely had his tank inspected after 3 months, and he said the sludge layer looked lighter, like things were decomposing properly.
So it wasn't just symptom relief, it was actual physical change inside the tank.
And that's why they switched. They told us the enzyme-only products just weren't cutting it for their household load. They needed that more robust oxygen plus bacteria combo to really accelerate things.
What's interesting is it's not about adding more chemicals.
Not at all. It's about optimizing the biological process that's already there, just making it work better and faster.
So moving on from the science, let's talk about the practical side. Because if something is hard to do, people just won't do it.
Procrastination always wins.
Yeah.
And the once-a-month tablet convenience was a huge, consistent theme in the interviews.
It removes the friction, right? A messy powder you have to measure or a liquid you have to remember every week.
It's a chore. It falls right off the to-do list after, I don't know, scrubbing the grout.
Absolutely. The ease of use was this huge psychological barrier just removed. It didn't feel like a chore anymore.
It felt like a simple routine.
We have this great quote from Anita in Florida that just captured it. She said, "I can barely remember to water my plants. A single tablet a month is perfect."
And that says it all. Busy people need systems that are mindless, that just work without you having to think. The consistency is basically guaranteed.
Because you only have to think about it for 5 seconds once a month.
Right. And that's why it fits so well into busy lives, even for people who travel a lot, like Ben and Laura from Oregon. Convenience drives consistency, and that's the foundation.
Okay, now let's talk numbers. The actual financial impact. Because this is maybe the most compelling argument against just waiting for disaster.
This is where the rubber meets the road. We're talking about reducing how often you need to get the tank pumped.
Which is the big recurring expense.
For sure. Before this routine, the average homeowner was pumping every 2 to 3 years. After, that stretched out to 3, 4, even 5+ years.
That's a fundamental change. And you know it's a real benefit when the pros start to notice.
Oh, yeah. We heard from George in Pennsylvania, and he told us his pumper actually said, and I'm quoting here, "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. This is the cleanest your tank has been."
Wow. That's priceless confirmation.
It is, because pumpers charge based on how much gunk they have to remove. A healthier system means less accumulated waste, which means a lower bill.
So when you tally it all up, the avoided pumpings, not needing to call a plumber for a slow drain.
The savings, especially for rural homeowners, become really significant, even over just the 6-month reporting period we looked at.
We saw figures easily in the $300 to $700 range. Saved.
And over a decade, that's thousands of dollars back in your pocket just from flushing a tablet once a month.
It really pays for itself. And the analysis showed it worked best in the toughest environments, right?
The biggest stress tests. We're talking about large families, homes with 4 or more people.
Lots of bathrooms, older plumbing.
Exactly. That constant high load is the biggest challenge for any septic system. It's the ultimate test of how well it can break down solids.
And you had a great example of that.
Yeah, Priya and Arjun in New Jersey,
Yeah.
a family of 6. They told us they used to have clogs and smells constantly.
Yeah.
But then they said by month 2, it was like a brand new system.
So for a system that's always under pressure, that accelerated decomposition just makes an immediate, obvious difference.
It keeps the system from getting perpetually overwhelmed.
Okay, so let's shift to the long-term view, because this isn't just a quick fix.
No, it's a commitment to cumulative health. While the odors vanished pretty quickly, the overall tank health was a compound effect. It got better over time.
It's maintenance, not magic.
That's the key. Tom in Virginia noted this. He said, "It's like the tank gets cleaner over time, and that's by design. You're constantly breaking down old layers of sludge and preventing new ones from forming. It's a systemic approach."
But the single most common theme, and honestly, it's a bit heartbreaking, the biggest lesson learned from everyone we talked to.
Regret.
Pure regret, wishing they had started earlier.
And this is the message for you, the listener, who wants to get ahead of the curve. These homeowners now truly understand the staggering cost of doing nothing.
We have to talk about the elephant in the room, the potential cost.
We do. One family from Tennessee, after a catastrophic failure, said, "If we used this treatment earlier, we could have avoided the $6,800 drain field repair."
$6,800, that's a brutal number.
That is the price tag you put on ignoring those little gurgling sounds for too long.
And that figure really defines the whole financial reason for doing consistent maintenance. The cost of a year's worth of treatment is just nothing compared to that.
Not even close.
But beyond the money, there was this other benefit that came up again and again, a psychological one.
Confidence.
Exactly. Septic systems are a huge source of anxiety for people because they're hidden, they're mysterious.
You feel powerless. You just cross your fingers and hope it doesn't fail.
And Kelly in Ohio, she captured the shift perfectly. She said, I finally feel like I'm maintaining my home properly, not waiting for something to
It's
break.
being proactive, not
And
reactive.
that's the real payoff, isn't it? It's
Huh.
moving from a state of anxiety to a state of assurance. The simplicity of the routine, flush a tablet, know it's working, forget about it for 30 days.
It becomes, as so many people told us, one less thing to stress about.
It just frees up your mental space.
Yeah, the issue was never a lack of information. People know they should maintain their septic tank. It was the lack of an easy, consistent system. Once you remove that friction, the confidence just follows.
So after digging through 6 months of these real-world experiences, the core message of our deep dive is crystal clear.
It really is. This monthly treatment, it's less about fixing a problem that's already there and almost entirely about robust, sustained prevention.
The real benefit is everything it prevents.
Fewer odors, fewer little annoyances, fewer big emergencies, and way fewer costly pumpings. It's an investment in efficiency.
And in peace of mind. It seems like this was the single smartest decision, in their own words, that these homeowners made. It led to that feeling of functional confidence.
And that brings us to our final thought for you. We've established that ignoring a few gurgles can potentially lead to a $6,800 repair bill.
A dramatic cost that only happens because those small, invisible problems were allowed to get worse and worse, out of sight.
So we want you to take that idea and apply it beyond the septic tank. Think about your own life, your own systems, professional or personal.
What other small, easy, preemptive fixes are you ignoring right now, just because the disaster isn't immediately visible?
What minor 3-day fix are you putting off that could end up costing you thousands in frustration and repair down the line?
That is a deep dive worth taking.